righty. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the November 18, 2025 meeting of the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District. Tonight we are operating on 4 cylinders, not 5, as our august president is unavailable for tonight's meeting, but we shall persevere. We have a full agenda, and we hope you will decide to participate in our efforts in a hopefully cooperative way. Let's start the meeting out by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we need first the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion and second, or a motion and second for an amendment to the agenda? Looking for a motion.
Motion to approve?
Yes. Okay. Who's the second? Thank you, Christian. Any discussion whatsoever? None? Staff, any modifications that you're aware of? Okay. Then all of those in favor of approving the agenda as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That is a 4-0 vote then. We have, prior to the formal agenda each night, a public comment period. I see we've got a couple of people in the audience. Don't know if they're here to make public comments. If so, this is the time to saunter up to the rostrum and hit the microphone. No? Okay, very good. Well, we were able to dispatch that quickly. Other old and new business, let's start with program and project updates. Staff?
Thank you, Manager Boyles. I'll start the presentation here with a programs update. As usual, we'll get into lake level graphing. Prior Lake has dropped 45 inches in the last month since the last board meeting. Spring Lake has held pretty steady. It's down a couple of tenths. This summer, district staff led lake monitoring. We were supported through an MPCA surface water assessment grant. We used a local laboratory, RMB. Thanks to our database and district-led sampling, we're able to share water quality results in a nice, timely manner. I'll begin presenting water quality graphs, and then next month I'll work on presenting those report cards. So right now this is just some dense data. So try and stick with me. I'll report on our Tier 1 lakes, Fish, Spring, Upper Prior, and Lower Prior. I'll start off with giving a description of how to interpret these graphs. I'll present 2 graphs per lake. This first one shows each individual sampling event. You can see there's dates on the lower axis. If you look at the top, those blue lines, those represent Secchi disk depth. The dotted blue line beneath that is the goal, and so we're looking at that on the right axis. On the left axis, and the lower bar graphs, we have red signifying total phosphorus and green chlorophyll A. So on the bottom there, we want those bars to be beneath those same colored lines, and that would be meeting state standard goals. So there's also some grayed out boxes. In between those grayed out boxes is what is called the summer months that we use for annual averages. So the annual average is based off of a June through September average. And that's what the state uses to grade our lakes. So for Fish Lake, Most of the season, we did not meet our Secchi disc depth. We were below total phosphorus and high on chlorophyll A. And if we look at the 10-year average, which is what this graph represents, it's been like that for quite a while. And this is pretty typical for Fish Lake. It's kind of holding right around where state standards are at. So the lake, it needs a bump to get over the edge on meeting goals. So it has not been doing that. But as you know, Emily and Danielle have been chipping away at the Fish Lake management plan. All right, so for Spring Lake, we're also not meeting goals. Secchi disc depth was not good throughout the year. And if you look at the lower half, there's the total phosphorus, there's that initial spike there in June. That sort of coincides with rains that we received this year. We had heavy rains in June. And then, there was algal blooms that tended to stay and were present through much of the summer. So phosphorus remained high, clarity remained pretty low, and you can also notice that the clarity was, those blue bars were low, but the green ones were high, and that sort of shows. Okay, well, it says Fish Lake at the top, it is Spring Lake. The Spring Lake 10-year shows that there is a declining trend likely in Spring Lake, especially if you look at that short term. So water quality has been heavily influenced by alum treatments in Spring Lake over the last 10 to 13 years. So, this is something that the district is working on. There's several projects in the pipeline. We're hoping to see this water quality improve. For Upper Prior Lake, kind of a typical summer trend graph we're seeing here. During the peak summer months, we're seeing a rise in phosphorus and chlorophyll and a decline in Secchi disc depth. Overall, the lake water quality was pretty good. We met both the Secchi and the phosphorus goal. We did not meet the chlorophyll A goal. There's an alum treatment project projected for 2026 that should really just solidify good water quality in Upper Prior Lake for years to come. And lastly, Lower Prior Lake, this has been our standard. We want all our lakes to look like this. What we're seeing here is really good water quality, and it's indicated by the range of depth that we're seeing here. During this early months, we were getting depths lower than 6 meters of clarity, and outside the summer average, we were seeing depths closer to 20 feet or deeper. That's nearly to the bottom of the lake where we were sampling. Phosphorus was also low, chlorophyll A was low. Just overall great water quality, and that trend has been really steady for 10 years, and even we have data sets going back quite a while past this, and this has been great water quality. So next month I'll dive deeper into grading and maybe introduce some of the trends that this data goes along with. Any questions on the programs update?
Managers, questions?
Thank you.
Can you go back to the first slide? I do have one question, and only because I think, there you go. The whiskey database, what is that again? Just so people understand why it's so important to us.
It's a software and it's a program where we house all of our time series and discrete data. It's a really powerful tool that the district has had for a few years now, and we've been building data sets and tools within this database to allow us to use calculations, computations, and powerful graphing pieces to analyze and assess our data in really fast and powerful ways.
Are the graphics that we just looked at based upon the data in the whiskey database, or is that separate and apart?
These graphs it's a good question. I pulled data out of the database, and these graphs were built in Excel spreadsheets, and I had already had these templates built, so I just pulled data out, put them in here, refreshed, and the beauty of whiskey is that we're able to do a lot of quality control and quality analysis inside that, and pull it right from the lab and analyze it before we get it in the database, and it's there.
Sure.
So we're a good month and a half ahead of a schedule that we would have had last year. So it's nice to be able to get data out, and then we'll be able to share it with our stakeholders.
Sure. It is a data-based organization, really, in many ways. Administrator Giese, did you have comments?
Yes, Manager Boyles. I was just going to say the database really allows us to turn around this data much quicker with a lot less time needs for staff. Staff can use their time elsewhere because this is such a powerful tool. When I first started, I believe staff were, spent months crunching numbers.
Really?
And now they can put it into the database once they get the formulas in there, and it can crunch it in much faster time. We would never see this data at this point of the year 4 years ago.
Worth the investment, then.
It was worth the investment.
All righty. Thank you very much. Our next item is 4.2, permit 25.02. Oops. Oh, sorry. Got a little anxious there. I don't just want to get going. All right. Let's go through the projects. I apologize.
No problem at all. This is a pretty brief update because we've got big things finishing and rolling on. So I've highlighted the three kind of projects I'll focus on this month here in the list, and there's many more we're getting rolling. So the first, which you're familiar with at this point, is the Swamp Lake Iron Enhanced Sand Filter. That will filter out nutrients that are traveling from Swamp Lake into Spring Lake, which is impaired for nutrients. We've had an extremely smooth construction process with this, almost no hiccups, and I can say that because it's nearly complete. They're doing site restoration tomorrow, so all the big things have been done. And we're planning on doing a punch list meeting next week. So really successful. Thank you to the engineers at EOR and Kruger Excavating for doing a great job on that project. You'll see some outreach components come out from that project too in the next year. And then the other projects I wanted to mention that Danielle and I are working on. Today we went out to some technical reviews for wetland delineations. And this is essentially a step in the permitting process that kind of informs what we can do with our design and construction around wetland areas. So we visited two sites. The picture on the left is Highway 13 wetland excavation site. We'll be excavating out accumulated sediments there. That's going to restore and enhance, get a deeper basin depth, which will allow us to have better settling, which is really important for our ferric chloride treatment to work well. So we had a really successful delineation. They approved our delineation, and we will proceed with permitting there. And then the bottom picture is a snapshot from our Spring Lake West or Highland iron enhanced sand filter, and that will filter water that's traveling in the Spring West tributary and eventually reaches Spring Lake. So we'll be removing nutrients there as well. And we were also approved at that wetland delineation. So successful day. And just in general, I wanted to build awareness of where we're at. We're entering the winter. Our construction season is wrapping up. So my updates and projects will be less exciting. We're going to move into paperwork, design, grants. But because they'll be less exciting, and in my brain that sticks less, I wanted to just put in simple terms. In 2026, we've already got 4 projects that are slated to be constructed. Upper Prior Lake Alum, 200 Street Pond improvements, Segment 1 bank stabilization, and then doing the secondary containment wall in ferric chloride. So we are still active and moving. Another part of our work this winter and into 2026 will be applying for grants for the projects we are hoping to do in 2027. So you see those next list of bullets: Highway 13 wetland excavation, Spring Lake West Highland iron enhanced sand filter, desal improvements, and potentially an alum treatment on Fish Lake. We've already been working on grant prospects for these and getting the design at a place we need to. So those are going to be less exciting things to report out, but lots of moving things. And then, of course, beyond that time scale, we're always trying to get the next generation started, because there are still other big things we want to do. So just wanted to give you that scope. And now I'll turn it over for questions.
Okay. Questions by managers at all?
Which are the projects that you will be looking to write grant applications for?
Yes, I would say in the 2027 bulleted list, everything except for the first Highway 13 wetland excavation. That wetland excavation will be seen as a maintenance project to maintain our wetland, but the others I think will be competitive. Not saying that we will receive all the funds for all of those projects, but I think they will fit with the multiple sources we have available, and I'm very hopeful that that will have a good outcome.
So good luck with that very much, and thanks for the effort here. And then for the for the 13 wetland excavation project, how much is our estimated cost for that right now?
It's estimated around $600,000, so that will be an expensive one, which again accentuates the need to have that debt payment reserve to just kind of help us even out and keep moving on those things.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Okay, thanks very much, staff, for those reports. Appreciate it. Now I think it's time for 4.2, which is a permit consideration of the permit's number is 25.02. Application, it's for County State Aid Road 23 and 68 roundabout, and there is a vote on this particular agenda item.
All right, Manager Boyles and managers. So for permit 2502, the applicant is Scott County. They are planning to reconstruct the intersection of County State Aid Highway 23, otherwise known as Panama Avenue, and County State Aid Highway 68, also otherwise known as 190th Street Southeast, or East, excuse me. The reconstruction of this intersection will trigger District Rules C, D, and E, and the map in front of you does show that intersection once again at Panama and 190th. Next. These are just some extracts from the construction documents. And I just wanted to point out that, so it's a little hard, you'll see a better image coming up here about this, what this intersection will look like. But I did want to point out, I will be also talking briefly about a proposed filtration basin that is located where the red circle is south of that intersection. Next. So once again, construction documents showing the planned reconfiguration into a roundabout. It also has some transition zones around the roundabout of paved facilities for pedestrians and bicyclists that then transition back onto roadway facilities in the north and the east legs. It's a combination also of an urban section, meaning that there are some curb and gutters in this section, and then it kind of transitions out back to a rural roadway where there are not curb and gutter, and the water just kind of sheets off of the roadway into the ditch system. So the reason for the permit is that this project is estimated to create 2.76 acres of new and reconstructed impervious surface. And that basically triggers our rule because if it's greater than 1 acre or more of new and reconstructed impervious surface for areas outside of our high-value resource area, it requires a permit. The project also has 6.7 acres of land disturbance, which exceeds our regulations of 10,000 square feet of disturbance for a linear project. The project does not have any floodplain alterations or wetland impacts. Next. This is kind of a construction drawing. It's a little hard to see of that proposed filtration basin. If you can see my mouse, it's a two kind of celled filtration basin. So first the water comes off the roadway into the first segment or bay of that basin for dropping out sediments. It then comes there and then it crosses over a weir into the filtration area, which is underlined by some drain tile. So the water filtrates through the soil, gets captured by the drain tile, and is then released further downstream into the drainage ditches. So the stormwater that is generated by this project is actually treated by a combination of this filtration basin and also drainage going to vegetated swales and green space near the roadway where it's not an urban section. All right, so with this permit application, the district has a 60-day window to approve or deny the permit request or the application. The district engineer has reviewed the plans and recommends conditional approval pending receipt of some items and additional conditions that are noted in the engineer's report that was included in the packet. So staff is recommending approval of permit 25.02, subject to the conditions noted in the permit application and the staff review comments.
Thank you for that report. Any questions whatsoever by managers? No questions? How about a motion then to either approve or deny? And if we're denying or tabling, we need to have a rationale that we express in either case. Approval is fairly easy. The other two.
Motion to approve.
Very good.
Permit 2502.
Manager Morgenberg, motion. Second. Manager Toffanelli. God, I'm in good shape. Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, we're approved. Thank you all. I'm sorry about your name. Okay.
Kind of new here.
You are. Next item, 4.3, is ferric chloride desilt pond improvements. A final memo, and this is a voting item as well. Staff.
Thank you, Manager Boyles. The desilt pond outlet and high flow bypass improvement feasibility study was initiated in 2024. We've had several meetings at workshops discussing different tasks that make up the feasibility study. I'll give a brief sort of run through of what this feasibility study entails, and then Carl is available to answer any of the questions. So this was initiated from observations dating back to 2013, with those observations being that there was regular bypass and there was uncertainty of treatment volumes during high water, so how much water was bypassing, that there was potential for flock resuspension. Our surveys are showing that the pond is not necessarily filling with solids as expected. Could this be carp? We know that there's carp in Spring Lake. Are they impacting our desilt pond? And then there's another component where it's difficult to accurately monitor treatment volumes, and this is really important for knowing, how we operate the system and how we report on the system. So we asked ourselves and our engineering experts what can be done to improve the desilt pond operations. So the feasibility study came up with 3 goals. Number 1 was to decrease bypass of the desilt pond while increasing treatment and phosphorus load reductions. The second goal was to decrease suspension of flock. And this was just to help the pond perform as expected. And the third goal is to improve the ability to accurately monitor discharge from the desiltation pond. So our engineer, EOR, came up with potential system modifications. The process they used was taking our historic data and using it to model different control elements that individually and in combination attempt to meet our 3 previous goals and maximize benefits. So the 3 components that really stuck out was raising the high flow bypass. This would push more water through to the desilt pond. To push more water through was further improved by adding additional inlet pipes and then constructing an outlet weir that would also improve retention time and improve our ability to monitor and give infrastructure for potential carp barrier. They performed a cost-benefit analysis. We ended up leaning within the 3-element scenario category, where those 3 benefits, or those 3 modifications, raising the high flow bypass, adding an additional inlet, and improving the outlet, those combinations met our 3 goals. The costs are reasonable compared to what our expected TP removal rates would be if you compare that to other relevant projects. And the last phase of the feasibility study was providing 30% design plans. So those plans incorporated scenarios 17 through 20, and those were delivered in the feasibility study. Just to note that this work is budgeted for in 2026, and so we'll work to advance these concepts into final design. So with that, staff motion to the board. So motion to accept the desilt pond outlet and high flow bypass improvement feasibility study, including 30% plans.
Members of the board?
So moved.
Okay, we've got a motion. Burnett?
Christian
Morkeberg, too. All right. Any further discussion? None. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That passes 4-0. Next item, oops, I'm sorry.
I would just ask one quick question. In terms of the feasibility study, how long does it typically take to complete it so that we are ready to hopefully approve the project and move ahead with it?
So I'm assuming that's directed at me because everybody's looking over here, so.
Yeah.
Unless we're doing this.
So you've completed the feasibility study and you have 30% plans. What you would, if you choose to move forward, as Jeff mentioned, in 2026, the next steps would be collecting soil borings at the desilt pond outlet, a little bit of more topographic information at all three, well, really primarily just the high flow bypass and the desilt outlet itself, not so much where the new inlet pipe would be. The real answer to your question is, I think it wouldn't take a lot of effort to go, once those borings are, solicited, usually there's a 3 to 6 week turnaround time before you would get that. So there would be a lag there. Model refinement, final design plans is probably on the order of 2 months timeline. If we get into, well, there will be permitting, so that's still kind of an unknown at this point of the duration of that, talking with DNR on changing water elevations in the ditch upstream of the high flow bypass. So you probably can assume at least 3 months paralleling along with the finalizing design. So long story short, I think an order of 5 months plus or minus from initiation of going forward with a final design.
Is there any chance of doing that sampling before it freezes, or is that not that's too fast?
The soil borings might be tough to accomplish with this late of notice. I know that we're seeing lead times of 4 to 6 weeks for the soil borings at Highway 13 project and the Spring Lake West. But it's not undoable. Costs would go up if in a frost condition. I don't know if that probably ever receives a deep hard frost. Depends on what the water conditions are like going into winter. Right now, Jeff and I were out there today, and there's water still going over the outlet, so that would keep it from not freezing.
Thank you.
All right. Any further questions? Oh, yes. Yeah.
So, Manager Markerberg, also, though, this project, while we probably could finish the construction documents here in short order, this is, as Emily had stated, this is a project that's a candidate for grant funding. And so really, we'll be spending 2026 getting the plans ready to go so that she has all the information she needs to get to submit grants. Well, Emily and Danielle will be submitting the grants. So really the idea is construction, and I'm not sure if the question was relating to construction or not, but the intent is to get the design and hopefully some grant funding in place, and then construction in 2027.
Thank you.
We done with that one? All right. Let's move on to 4.4, Comprehensive Wetland Plan Update. And this says discussion here. It almost sounded to me like a vote would have been desired, but maybe you can clarify that in your report.
Yeah, this will be for a vote. That's a correction.
Good.
So I am talking about the Comprehensive Wetland Plan, which was completed in 2012 as directed by the 2010 Water Resources Management Plan. The goal of this 2012 plan partially was to establish a wetland inventory. That inventory was based on partner data, field work, review of aerials, things like that. It developed wetland classifications and buffer recommendations, so those would inform rules, and identified some priority wetlands and preservation and restoration. So that is what we are kind of working off of. Unfortunately, this 2012 plan, its completion wasn't prioritized, so the nature of the document, it's kind of hard to use as a tool for staff. The presentation of the data is hard to interpret, and kind of how it is meant to be used is hard to interpret. The need for a plan update itself was talked about within the 2012 plan, at least updates to the inventory. And updates to the plan were discussed in the 2020, our current water resources management plan, and we have been budgeting for it since 2024, and we are pursuing that this year. So, like I said, the current plan is not a great tool for staff, so we're talking about how to make it a useful document. Do we want to do a kind of a whole update? Do we want to do something a little smaller and just make it a better tool? And that's kind of what we determined. We reviewed the priorities that informed this 2012 plan and determined that the classifications for wetlands and the prioritizations were still in line with our current goals. So we determined a strategy to kind of really just make it a more useful tool, including bringing our wetland inventory up to date and quantifying flood storage potential, as well as developing an interactive web map. So right now, all the maps of the inventory and of the wetlands are just in the plan document. Some of the wetlands are very small, and it's kind of hard to tell what's going on in the current maps. So we will have a web map that we can zoom in on project areas. And so those first 2 points, we would plan to work with EOR to bring those up to date and develop the web map. And then staff would prepare a companion document to kind of pull out the important parts of this plan, kind of what the wetland classifications mean, how they were determined, how the priority wetlands, how those were determined and how they could be used. And this method is really efficient compared to kind of doing a whole overhaul of the update. So our estimated costs for working with consultants is $25,500. We had budgeted between 2025 and 2026 for a full update for $55,000. So it's over 50% cheaper than we were planning. So that said, staff recommend that the board motion to authorize staff to proceed with these 3 actions related to the comprehensive wetland plan, preparation of a companion document, and coordination with consultants to complete the wetland inventory update and development of an interactive web map.
Questions at all, board members? Would someone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Manager Toffanelli. Manager Markaberg. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further questions on this particular agenda item for staff or otherwise? Or Manager Markaberg? Go ahead.
Yes, I think it's an important project, and wish you good luck and congratulations on finding the lower cost.
Thank you.
Any further questions, comments, discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That passes 4-0. Very good. Next item is item 4.5, which is Resolution 25-407, revising the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District staff contribution to health and dental insurance premiums. Staff?
Managers, the district's current approach to health and dental insurance for employees uses a grandfather approach where employees who were hired before January 1st of 2023 maintained 100% premium coverage by the district, and those hired after January 1st, 2023 were required to contribute 15% of their premium costs. The district is a small employer and our premiums are age-based. I recently learned that the combination of using a grandfather approach and the age-based premiums is not a recommended practice. Concurrently, I performed an analysis of the district's benefits in relationship to other metro watershed districts and found that the district's contributions toward benefits was on the lower end. And this is really counter to comments that were received earlier this year from the managers indicating a desire to provide competitive compensation for its staff. So based on a discussion at the November workshop, I prepared Resolution 25407, which has the district contribute 100% of employee health and dental insurance premiums for board consideration. Therefore, staff recommends a motion to approve Resolution 25407, revising the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District staff contributions to health and dental insurance premiums.
Manager Morkenberg, pardon me.
Yes. Motion to approve Resolution 25407.
Okay, is there a second? Second. All righty, any questions? I have one. Is there a number contemplated behind the 100% and the 25% and the whatever percent? Do we know what the dollar amount is right now?
The dollar amount of
Our contributions?
the addition of 100% employees is about, I believe, $4,000 of additional cost to the district.
Are these annual numbers that we have? Here's my concern. When you use percentages, you better be certain that the number it's based upon is not moving. And that's all I wanted to be. If 100% is 100% of $1,000, fine. But if it's $1,500, you're still obliged to the 100%. You haven't adjusted your budget. How can we just guard against that kind of thing? Or maybe I'm worried about things that I shouldn't be.
Manager Boyles, it is 100%, and the premiums, as we all know, will increase.
Right.
And so, that is something that will need to be considered in future budgets and accommodated in future budgets. At some point, if the managers feel that this is no longer sustainable, then this policy will have to be revisited.
Typically, you do this on an annual basis, don't you?
We budget for, benefits on
And you make
as part of our annual budgeting process. We revisit.
some way we can say, well, I don't know how to say it. You made a suggestion I thought was a good one in the other room where numbers would be a different document than the personnel policy. Is that something we can look at further? And I'm only one talking. These guys may not agree with me whatsoever.
And once again, the numbers that I was discussing in the workshop were really about percentages, though, or dollars,
Okay.
not necessarily flat.
Manager Burnett.
Yeah, I think it's covered in the yearly budget discussions. The variability that would happen every year.
Okay. Well, I don't like the lack of safeguards, but that's okay. All right. Any further comments? Manager Toffanelli.
You're talking health care,
Oh, yeah,
and I'll guarantee you, we will pay more
sure.
unless we stop getting older.
There's one way to
No,
do that.
that's about the only thing.
that's about it.
That's about the only thing. Or we don't give cost of living to healthcare providers. So it is going to cost us more, and I understand your percentages, but healthcare is the number one factor for people to go to work.
Hey, I'm a consumer too. I understand that. Okay. Any further comments? Okay. All those in favor of the resolution as presented, signify by saying aye. Sorry, I didn't get the rest of it in there. Signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Okay. I'm going to vote no. All right, next agenda item. And by the way, that's not because I have a problem with the 100%, et cetera. It's that worry about the fact, exactly the fact you brought up. It's going to escalate. All right, Minnesota paid leave premium contributions, which is item 4.6.
So managers, Minnesota paid leave is a new law that will go into effect on January 1st of 2026. This is a new public insurance program administered by the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, also known as DEED. And it provides eligible employees with paid leave for family and medical reasons. Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District is considered a small employer, and therefore our premium rate is reduced from large employers. Our premium rate will be equal to 0.66% of wages. The law allows for this premium to be split between the district and the employees within certain limits. Based on manager discussions at the November workshop, I brought forward the motion, which is, so staff recommends a motion to approve splitting the Minnesota paid leave premium between the district and the employees, with the district contributing premiums equal to 0.33% of employee wages, and employees contributing premiums equal to 0.33% of their wages.
Any questions whatsoever? Managers? All right. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Manager Burnett?
Second.
Manager Morkenberg? Okay, any questions? Staff comments? All right, all those in favor of the motion as proposed signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All of those opposed, same sign. Very quiet. All right, good. Our next item is our treasurer's report, 5.1.
Thank you so much, board managers. Overall, our general fund and our implementation fund are on track to be under budget at the year end. There are things like cost for permitting, easements, farmer-led council, and cost share that still appear low, and that's primarily due to delay in receiving the third quarter invoices from Scott Soil and Water Conservation District. So next month will reflect this activity better. Our district desires to have a cash balance about 50% of the budget, and if we exclude items that will not be expended in 2025 from the budget, the available cash will comfortably exceed 50%, both now and at the end of the year. The cash flow looks adequate to fund our operations through June 2026, so we have extended our evaluation of the cash flow out, 8 months. The cost analysis that you look at, about 82% of our 2025 expenditures have gone to advance implementation of district programs and projects, so it's been a busy year.
What was that number?
82% of it.
Thank you.
And another 5% have gone to fund the PLOC operations from us. And the remaining 30% are related to the general fund, and these general fund expenditures include accounting, office operations, computer support that primarily support the projects and program implementation. If you also look at the cost analysis, you can also see under consultants and contractors, you can see like who are our 3 main expenses so far this year here, and that's EOR, our engineering support. It's Scott Soil and Water Conservation District, where we have really expanded our cooperation with them, and they are helping us a lot in total mechanical services. So interesting to look at the different contractors that we have. So overall, we are in good standing. Any questions?
Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you.
No questions? And we don't adopt these, right? We just, okay. All right, next item is consent agenda. And the items on the consent agenda include meeting minutes, October 21st for the board workshop. Same date, October 21st, our board meeting, a claims list and bank purchase card expenditures list, selection of district engineer, legal counsel, accountant, and auditor for the year 2026 and 27. You'll recall that we're mandated to do that by statute. An authorization of the district administrator to serve as Intuit QuickBooks primary administrator. And I presume there's a secondary then? No, I'm just kidding. Those are the items on the consent. Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Councilmember Morgenberg?
Second.
Thank you. Toffenelli? Any further questions at all on the consent items? No. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, 4-0. Thank you. Does someone else want to read the events, or is that kind of my specialty? Give me something I might be able to handle. Here we go. The PLOC Cooperators Meeting is Thursday, November 20th, that is this week, at noon at the City Hall in the Parkview Conference Room, which is the conference room here on main floor. The CAC meets on Thursday, November 20th as well at 6 p.m. You're going to have a day full of watershed issues here. But that meeting is in the Wagon Bridge Conference Room, which is downstairs. And then the December Board of Manager Workshop is Tuesday, December 16 at 4 p.m. And the regular meeting, monthly meeting, is the same day, only commencing at 6 p.m. Those are the meeting events that I have on my list. Are there any additions? No? Okay. All right. Is there a motion? I don't think we have any other agenda items. No? Is there a motion and second to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Good. Morkenberg? Toffenelli? Okay. Any need for discussion? I'm trying to have the longest meeting in history here.
You're going for shortest at the moment.
There you go. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I don't even think we have to vote on it. All those opposed, never mind. Okay, thank you very much. We are adjourned at 6:58. Am I right there? Okay.
That's what the clock says.
Is that right? Well, 6:59 here.